Natasha and Her Illegitimate Child in a Muslim Society. A novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. Book 2. This is an intriguing epic story which resonates with love, resilience, courage, and sacrifice. Before we dive into the tapestry of the story, I would like to remind the reader that this novel has been narrated in 2 books. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer, who may quote brief paragraphs for a review to be printed in a public newspaper, general magazine, school journal, or university article. This novel is a work of fiction, but the entire story is based on the real life of a Muslim family. All names, characters, places, and events are either the product of the author's imagination or used literary. Therefore, any resemblance to actual people, living or dead, events or locales is merely coincidental. Chapter 30. The Incompatible Life Partners. Dr. Natasha returned to Canada with a great surprise to her brother Wahid Muhammad Ahmed and his Ethiopian wife Almaz Abraha. At first, they have not believed her words when she told them that she fell in love and married a Muslim man who became an apostate from Islam. Although her brother is not comfortable with the new lover who became her husband, he still understands that his sister is free to make her decision regarding her life partner. As she surprised them with her marriage, her brother and his wife surprised her with the happiest news that she has ever heard. They told her that her application for a teaching position at the Department of Religious Studies at Toronto University has been approved and her appointment letter has been sent to her. The letter invited her to come as soon as possible and begin her teaching job. Dr. Natasha has become exceedingly excited, and joy knows no limits have filled her heart when she learned that she would be able to teach Islam and impart to her students her great fieldwork data which she has painstakingly collected in the Middle East. She put her life at great risk through her 2 undercover trips to the Muslim world. She believes that through her academic career, she would be able to make great contributions to those who are interested in doing research in the field of women in Islam. As a professor of religious studies, Dr. Natasha expected that her future writings on women in Islam would carry more weight and would be taken more seriously in the academic circles in many Western universities and high schools. As soon as Dr. Natasha started to teach Islam at the University of Toronto, she began to work side by side on authoring her new book about the lives of women in the Muslim countries she had recently visited with her new lover. She did not yet inform anyone about her secret visit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and participating in those pagan religious rituals of the Islamic Hajj. She did neither tell anyone among her students nor the other professors of religious studies about her marriage to an ex-Muslim who became an apostate. She also said nothing about her visits to the other Muslim countries. She decided to leave that information for the future when her new book would be written and published. She expected that her book is going to create huge positive and negative reactions. She has no idea whether the readers of her book are going to look at her as a brave heroine or a pretender and deceiver. She remembered how her ex-Muslim lover had negatively reacted when she revealed to him about her secret visit to Sudan. Furthermore, she could not anticipate whether her future controversial book was going to send her to jail or to her grave. She might be accused as a deceiver and pretender by the Middle East embassies in Canada and send her to jail, or be haunted and killed by the Muslim terrorists. She might be fired from her new teaching position under the charge of conflict of interests. Everything is possible in the case of her upcoming new book. Despite all the anticipated risks involved, Dr. Natasha went ahead and began to work on drafting her new book. In the meantime, in her married life, Dr. Natasha is facing so many difficulties. She discovered too late that her marriage had been based on a hasty decision. She unwisely agreed to marry a person who does neither shares the same religious beliefs as her nor has he the same interests in life as she has. Her husband is not like-minded as her, and that created some tension in their married life. Dr. Hassan found it difficult to accept the Western way of life that Dr. Natasha had fully adapted to it. For example, he does not like the way his wife puts on Western clothes. He objected when she put on short dresses such as pants and bikinis. He refused to allow her to go to any swimming pool or beach. He is against the idea of allowing his wife to expose her semi-nude body in public places, and that before men who are not related to her. Moreover, he is against the idea of his wife going to the gym. Although he claimed to be an apostate and does not believe in Islam, his behaviors and decisions revealed that he still has a typical Muslim man mentality. Dr. Natasha understood her husband's unbeatable problem because he lived all his life in a strict Islamic society, which puts so many restrictions on women. Therefore, Dr. Hassan might need time until he will be able to cope with the free Western society. For that reason, she decided temporarily to follow his demands and avoid upsetting him. Yet, another insurmountable problem that she is facing in her married life has to do with finding proper work for her husband. Dr. Hassan's medical degree that he obtained from Khartoum University has not been recognized, and his work experience as a medical doctor in Saudi Arabia has also not been approved. If he wanted to be recognized as a qualified medical doctor, he must go back to a medical college at a Canadian university and redo all his courses. But that might take between 5 to 7 years and would involve a lot of money. Dr. Hassan is not willing to go back to college and study medicine again. He also does not like to do any labor work such as a cleaner or security guard, which most of the new immigrants started their working careers with. Whatever academic qualifications they had achieved and whatever work experiences they had gained in the countries they came from, they would not be able to find work in those areas of their specializations. Therefore, finding appropriate work for Dr. Hassan became an invincible problem. He said he does not want to stay at home and depend on his working wife. Time and again, Dr. Hassan told Dr. Natasha that it is against his cultural upbringing that the man sits at home and his wife goes to work and feeds her jobless husband. In addition to those insurmountable problems, Dr. Hassan is poor in English because he did his studies in Arabic. Besides that, he practiced medicine in Riyadh City in Arabic too. For that reason, he needs to learn English before looking for work or return to any medical college. He has to sit side by side with those Sudanese refugees and other immigrants who many of them have never been to school in all their lives and learn English as a second language. It is often used for non-native English speakers learning English in a country where English is commonly spoken. After successfully finishing that course, he must sit for his TOEFL exam. It is a test of English as a foreign language. It is a standardized test to measure the English language ability of non-native speakers wishing to enroll in English-speaking universities. In addition to this English test, he must do the GRE examination. GRE is a standardized test that is an admissions requirement for most schools and colleges in the USA and Canada. The GRE aims to measure verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, analytical writing, and critical thinking skills that have been acquired over a long period of learning. The content of the GRE consists of certain specific algebra, geometry, arithmetic, and vocabulary. The GRE general test is offered as a computer-based exam. He must score remarkably high marks in those tests. Then and only then, Dr. Hassan can get admission to a Canadian medical college. The third difficulty that Dr. Natasha must deal with in her problematic married life is her unwanted pregnancy. She does not want to be pregnant so soon, especially since she has just started her teaching career. That wonderful midnight love rapture in their shared apartment in Dubai City resulted in Dr. Natasha being impregnated because she had sex with her life partner without the use of a condom. Dr. Hassan has no objection if his pregnant wife has decided to abort the baby, but Dr. Natasha refused to do so because of her religious faith. She knew that abortion is a murder, and she will never kill her own baby by her deliberate decision. For that reason, she was determined to keep the baby. The fourth and last insurmountable problem that Dr. Natasha has to deal with in her married life is the strong antipathy and abhorrence that her husband is showing toward her Christian faith and Christian friends. Although her agnostic husband claimed to have forsaken Islam and accepted her as his lawful wife at the London International Airport after he came to know she is Christian, still he has unbelievable hatred toward the Bible and everything to do with Christianity. He openly condemned the Bible as a false and corrupted book and Christianity as the religion of the white man who throughout history oppressed and enslaved non-Christians. As modern examples, he referred to the occupation of Iraq and Afghanistan by Western troops and the State of Israel, which he believes has been illegally and unjustifiably created on the Arab land. According to his belief, which all Muslims and Arabs shared with him, the people who claimed to be Jews and occupied the Palestinians' homeland are originally Europeans who converted to Judaism. They are Khazars who became the Ashkenazi Jews. The Khazar hypothesis of Ashkenazi ancestry, often called by its critics the Khazar myth, is the hypothesis that Ashkenazi Jews are descended from the Khazars, a multi-ethnic conglomerate of Turkic peoples who formed a semi-nomadic khanate in the area extending from Eastern Europe to Central Asia. Therefore, Dr. Hassan, like many Muslims, believes that those Jews of today who are living in Palestine have nothing to do with the Semitic Jews who lived for hundreds of years in the land of the Arabs, and they are still living among the Muslim Arabs without fighting with them. As such, today, Jews, as many Arabs and Muslims claim, have nothing to do with the ancient Jewish prophets Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, David. Dr. Hassan also believes in the so-called conspiracy theory of the terrorists' attacks on the Trade Center in New York City. Like many Muslims, he claimed that the September 11th attacks had been carried out by the American CIA and the Israeli Mossad. Therefore, according to that conspiracy theory, Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda and all Muslims had nothing to do with September 11th. While arguing this point, Dr. Hassan always refers to the words of the Mullah Omar, the former president of Afghanistan and the spiritual leader of Taliban, who said to the former president of the USA, George Bush, "Give me one proof that Osama bin Laden did 9/11, and I will hand him over to you." According to this conspiracy theory, which began to gain many supporters in the Muslim world, Bush could not give one single proof to the Mullah Omar and still invaded and occupied Afghanistan. Based on his strong belief that the promised land belonged to the Arab Palestinians, Dr. Hassan refused to condemn Hamas and Hezbollah as terrorist groups, but he considered them freedom fighters. Those differences have made Dr. Natasha conclude that her husband and she are incompatible partners. Still, she believes that Dr. Hassan might change in heart and mind if he accepted Christ. But his gross hatred towards Christianity and Christians made it hard for her to talk to him about Jesus. She knows that he does not want her to have fellowship with Christians, but she is openly defying his authority and goes to her church every Sunday. In the meantime, Dr. Natasha asked her Christian brothers and sisters to pray for the salvation of her unbelieving husband. Lastly, lovers are sexually incompatible. The Western wife Natasha has found that Dr. Hassan has very primitive understanding of sex. He is like many men of his culture. Sex means subjugation of the wife by her husband. He does not know how to prepare his partner for sex and helps her to reach her clitoris orgasm. His main aim in sex is to reach his climax and ejaculate in her private parts. Therefore, many times he made his wife Natasha extremely frustrated when he refused to carry on until she reaches her orgasm. Luckily, her husband has not yet come to know about her great hidden secret of her unwitting marriage to her own biological brother Wahid and having a baby girl together. She has no idea what his reaction will be when he comes to know that she has 2 children who were both born out of unwittingly incest with her brother and father. Will he believe her if she informs him that those sexual incestual relations had happened unwittingly? Chapter 31. The birds of a feather flock together. As we have already seen, Dr. Natasha's married life turned out to be a heavy burden on her. This serious family problem is hindering her writing and delaying producing her new book. It is also affecting her teaching at the university. She has little time for preparing for her classes and drafting her book. Most of the time at her apartment, she spends arguing with her always angry husband. She found her husband is neither interested in her teaching job nor is he supporting the writing of her upcoming book. As a jobless immigrant, Dr. Hassan has nothing to do the whole day except watching the television. He told Dr. Natasha that it is against his culture for the man to cook the food, sweep the apartment, do the laundry, or wash the dishes. He believes these are women's chores. Accordingly, the professor, Dr. Natasha, found it difficult to teach at the university and take care of their home. Whenever she returns in the evening, she would be damn tired. For that reason, most of the time she ordered ready-made food from pizza restaurant or KFC. Only on the weekends could she cook some food and do all the laundry and clean their apartment. Due to her pregnancy, handling all the housework alone is a heavy burden and a difficult responsibility to her. She tried to convince her husband to forget about his cultural upbringing and begin to clean and cook. She tried to convince him the husband should help his pregnant wife. Even so, the arrogant man Dr. Hassan is not ready to compromise on those gender roles. Whenever his wife Dr. Natasha insisted that he should change, he threatened her that he would walk away from her life and never return. She knows that according to the immigration law, she has sponsored him as her spouse and hence she is responsible about his needs, and she must take care of him for 3 years. If he left her and went to social welfare, the government would compel her to pay for his rented apartment and meet all his other needs. Even if she divorced him, she would be bound by that responsibility until he completed 3 years in Canada. The social work department will take money directly from her salary and give it to her sponsored husband to meet his expenses. Dr. Hassan began to complain of feeling bored by sitting all day alone in the apartment without going out. For that reason, he told his wife that he would like to search for some Sudanese immigrants in Toronto. He wanted to make some friends to spend some time with them while his professor wife is away at the university. Dr. Natasha decided not to be hard on her lonely husband and stop him from finding some Sudanese in Toronto. However, she's scared that mixing with Sudanese Muslims might lead him to backslide into Islam again. But since he is adamant on his decision to look for his Sudanese people, she could not stop him from going out. Therefore, one day Dr. Hassan took a public transportation bus and went out to look for the people of his country. Finding a Sudanese immigrant in Toronto is as easy as finding a McDonald's restaurant in a Western city. Sudanese like to follow their culture and customs wherever they went and hang always together. They fulfilled the saying, "The birds of a feather flock together." In Sudan, young men who were not yet married like to hang together in group of 5 or 10, and sometime the group could be friends from 15 neighboring houses. Such a group is called shala. Girls are not allowed to join those male groups. This is not because the boys don't like girls to be around them, but it is forbidden by the Sharia for a girl to be out of the house without her husband or father, and the law in Sudan punishes any man and woman found together without any lawful relationship. Even when they come to a country like Canada, which allows mixing between the sexes, still Sudanese families would hold on to their precious and divinely inspired culture. They will tell you it is aib and haram, taboo and forbidden, for the girl to be with a boy who is not her husband. Ironically, this restriction is not extended to include white girls like Christians and Jews or any other non-Muslim females such as Hindus and Buddhists. Each one of them would be having an infidel girlfriend and fornicating with her day and night. Most of those kafir girlfriends are former hookers who have been found in the streets or bars. Some of those girls might be obese or sexually frustrated females. Therefore, they just want to have sex with any creatures have penises, even if they are as ugly as a monkey's or pigs or the sons of Satan himself. Anyway, those male groups love to meet in public places such as coffee shops, parks, or apartments of single male Sudanese. An apartment is preferable to a public place because there would be more freedom for a single guy to bring a street girl or a prostitute to have a good time with her and pay her a few dollars. Sudanese boys love to play cards, and in public place they won't be allowed to do so. Moreover, the most important advantage of gathering in an apartment is drinking local liquor. In Sudan, making and selling liquor is not allowed. However, there are women who for the sake of money would take the risk and make and sell local liquor. The local liquor is made in a very primitive way, and hence it is better to drink acid than the poisonous liquor they make. It did not take Dr. Hassan long time to find Sudanese in Toronto. While he is aimlessly roaming in downtown Toronto, he spotted a group of Sudanese young men in one of the coffee shops. He just walked straight to them and introduced himself. As we have already mentioned, Sudanese immigrants love to meet a newcomer immigrant. Every one of them threw his arms around Dr. Hassan and hugged him. Sudanese men greet each other through hugging, and that should not be mistaken for gays loving and hugging each other. Yes, Sudanese boyfriends sometimes love one another more than they love girls, but in an exceedingly rare cases sex would be involved. However, homosexuality is quite common practice in Muslim countries due to the gender restriction and segregation between sexes. Therefore, having sex with animals such as goats and sheep is very rampant in Muslim societies, and that due to the same problem. In Saudi Arabia, for instance, due to the gender restrictions, there are stories of boys sodomizing their sisters or female cousins. Most of the victims of homosexuality in Sudan are the small schoolboys. Male teachers are very notorious homosexuals and well known for that evil practice. By force, the teachers and bigger boys would sodomize small boys. Those victims might or might not grow up as gays. Those evil homosexuals like to rape small schoolboys because they believe male children have soft and delicate bodies as girls. Anyway, Dr. Hassan met those young Sudanese men and spent quite long time socializing with them. He told them he is a new arrival in Canada and has come directly from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He also told them that he is married to a Sudanese Christian girl who came along with him. But his male ego did not permit him to reveal to them that his wife is a highly educated woman, and at present she is working as a professor at Toronto University. Nonetheless, he informed them that he used to work as a medical doctor in the King Fahd Royal Hospital in Riyadh City, but he said nothing about the stoning of his late wife, Saham. He also did not inform them about the great help he received from his Christian wife who stood by his side in his difficult time and made a pseudo-marriage and brought him all the way from his hiding hole in Saudi Arabia to Canada. The young men are extremely glad to meet Dr. Hassan and asked him to come again and meet them. They even gave him some addresses of single guys where they meet every evening and play cards, and sometime they drink together and have parties. That day when Dr. Hassan returned home, he is so happy and his soul is refreshed and revived by the nice time he spent with his Sudanese people. As a matter of fact, Dr. Hassan did not find his wife Dr. Natasha to be a Sudanese in any way. She was brought up in Ethiopia and picked up a non-Sudanese culture in that foreign land. And when she immigrated to Canada, she did not mix up with her Sudanese people. He does neither like the Ethiopian food, which she cooks over the weekend, nor the fast food, which she brings to the house every day. He also hates her male clothes, which he believes a decent married woman should never put on. When he fell in love with her in the Middle East, he always saw her in her Islamic abaya and niqab. And he might never love her if he saw her from the beginning in those semi-naked Western dresses, which she has started to put on after she left the Muslim world and returned to the Western world. Therefore, Dr. Hassan is longing for his Sudanese culture and food. On that day, his Sudanese acquaintances took him to the Khartoum restaurant in downtown Toronto and served him a delicious mullah sharmout with kisra that he likes so much. After consuming his Sudanese delicious food, for dessert, he enjoyed Sudanese dessert, which is his favorite sweet dish. When he returned home, Dr. Natasha noticed the difference in his face and talk. He is exceedingly joyful and told Dr. Natasha everything his Sudanese acquaintances told him and where they went and what they did. Dr. Natasha is shocked when her husband told her that his Sudanese acquaintances convinced him to go back to college and redo his medical courses and become a family doctor. They told him further that the medical doctor makes a lot of money in Canada. Dr. Natasha has become so angry because she tried many times to convince him to return to school and upgrade his medical degree, but he always rejected her requests. She has been extremely puzzled by the fact that his Sudanese acquaintances in a single day convinced him to return to school and her, his own wife, couldn't convince him. But then Dr. Natasha remembered that in her study of the Muslim culture, she learned that the man would never take orders from his wife or wives. Nonetheless, she decided not to remind him of that because she liked the idea of her husband returning to college and studying his medical courses. At least he would be busy doing something useful instead of sitting all day at home or going out and spending all the time with his new Muslim acquaintances. She is scared that they might reconvert him back to Islam and turn her problematic married life into an unbearable living hell. Chapter 32. Muslims' reactions against the new book of Dr. Natasha. For Dr. Hassan to return to school is not as easy as Dr. Natasha expected it. Her husband needs someone to finance his study and pay his tuition fees. At first, she convinced her husband to borrow a student loan to cover the cost of his study. Dr. Hassan followed the advice of his wife and applied for a student loan. However, his application has been rejected by the student loan office because he mentioned in his application that his spouse is a professor at the University of Toronto. According to the rules of the student loan office, any student who has a working father or mother or both parents or husband or wife with a high income, he would not be eligible to borrow a student loan. Accordingly, his professor wife Dr. Natasha has to pay his tuition fees and buy his medical textbooks. Dr. Hassan needs at least 7 years at the medical college to redo his courses and another 2 years of practice in a hospital to be qualified as a doctor and be allowed to practice his profession in Canada. Consequently, the professor Dr. Natasha must pay her husband's tuition fees and buy his textbooks. Dr. Hassan needs at least 2 years to do the ESL, TOEFL, and GRE examinations. Following that, he needs to get admission to a medical college and redo his courses, and that might take at least 7 years. After that, he requires to be a resident in a hospital and spends another 2 years of practicing before he can be a qualified family doctor and be allowed to practice his profession in Canada. Getting a resident position in a Canadian hospital sometimes might take many years. During this long period of time, his wife must spend a lot of money on him. Nonetheless, despite the huge amount of money Dr. Natasha must spend on her jobless husband, still, she has agreed to send him back to school. Dr. Hassan enrolled himself in an ESL course and began his upgrading process. In the meantime, he did not forget his Sudanese friends and continued to meet them every now and then in their apartments and in public places. In a short time, he came to know many Sudanese in Toronto. He even became friendly with married Sudanese guys. Despite that, no one recognized him or knew about his former executed wife. Dr. Hassan tried to convince his wife to mix with Sudanese women and be part of the Sudanese community, but Dr. Natasha refused his request on the ground that she is a Christian and those Sudanese women are Muslims. Dr. Natasha afraid that the Sudanese women will recognize her if she comes close to them. She thought that every Muslim Sudanese in Toronto knows about her past life and her troubles with Islam and Muslims. Therefore, she told her husband that she would not stop him from being close to his Sudanese community, but as for her, she prefers to keep her friendship with Christian families. Things went fine between Dr. Natasha and her husband until she published her book. Her husband has no knowledge of what his wife has included in her new book. He is not interested in knowing what she is writing and why she is writing and publishing her book. Nevertheless, the release of her new book has created huge protests and uproar among the Muslims of Toronto, and their rages have spread like fire all over Canada and traveled with the speed of light, and soon crossed the border into the United States of America and finally, traveled overseas. Muslims reacted violently and demanded the ban of the book and the prosecution of its author. Some Muslim feminist professors at Toronto University tried to instigate the Department of Religious Studies against Dr. Natasha. They accused her of conflict of interests. They contended that she is teaching Islam, and at the same time she hates Islam and Muslims. In addition, they claimed that Dr. Natasha has fabricated stories and included fake data in her book. Before the department authority could pass their judgment on the work of Dr. Natasha, they formed an inquiry committee and requested its members to read the book and verify the claims of the feminists. The committee members have read the book and evaluated it academically. They found the book well documented and written in high scholarly work. Accordingly, the allegations of the Muslim feminist professors have been rejected, and Dr. Natasha has not been fired from her position as a professor who is teaching Islam. As soon as the feminists' accusation has been rejected, the Muslim Students' Union at Toronto University submitted a complaint against the Islamic professor Dr. Natasha Sami Shams al-Din. In their complaint, they accused the Islamic professor Dr. Natasha of collecting data about Muslim women in Muslim countries undercover, and according to them that is morally and legally wrong. According to them, Dr. Natasha violated the university's criteria of honesty and transparency in carrying out her academic research on Muslim women. Once again, the university authority investigated the matter and found out that the Islamic professor Dr. Natasha Sami Shams al-Din has not violated any university's criterion because her work has been done independently and not part of any academic research that she is doing in any university. When Muslims failed to get the professor Dr. Natasha out of her Islamic teaching position, they decided to deal with her legally. The Islamic Council of Toronto convinced the Saudi embassy in Ottawa to take Professor Dr. Natasha Shams al-Din to court for lying in her visa application and traveling undercover to Saudi Arabia for performing the Hajj rituals when she is not a Muslim. Instead of Professor Dr. Natasha alone, the embassy dragged her brother Wahid Muhammad Ahmed in their lawsuit and accused both of them of lying in their applications by supplying false religious identities and fake names. The lawsuit of the Saudi embassy led other Arab embassies in Ottawa to submit similar complaints against Dr. Natasha and her brother Wahid for traveling to their countries under false travel papers and fake names. Shortly after those lawsuits had been submitted, Professor Dr. Natasha and her brother Wahid received a notice from the court informing them about the date of their trial. Canadian Muslims have not stopped at trying to prosecute Dr. Natasha at the university and a court of law, but have pursued her inside her house and created a serious problem between her and her husband. First, the Muslim community came to know about the hidden identity of Dr. Hassan. Through the book, they came to know that his first Muslim wife was caught in the very act of committing adultery inside his apartment and on his bed with another Sudanese man, and therefore she had been stoned to death in Saudi Arabia. Revealing such information to the public has created an insurmountable problem between Dr. Natasha and her husband. Although he continued to stay with his wife, Dr. Hassan stopped talking to her and refused to join her in bed. When he has been questioned by his Sudanese friends, Dr. Hassan denied the information and accused his wife of lying about him. He falsely claimed that he has never married another Muslim woman except for his present Christian wife. Then his friends tried to convince him to leave his infidel wife and stay by himself. In addition, they revealed to him all the hidden nasty past life of his wife. Through them, he came to know that his wife had fallen in love and married her own brother, and through incest, she had a baby daughter with him. They also informed him that his Christian wife had been kidnapped and raped by her own biological father. Once again, she became pregnant through incest and delivered a baby boy who was fathered by her father. Moreover, they informed him that his wife was born and brought up as a Muslim, but she left Islam when she met her Christian brother and fell in love with him. She claimed she did that without knowing he was her own brother. Her Christian brother is the one who brainwashed her and convinced her to forsake Islam and became a Christian. After that, the infidel brother married his apostate sister and fathered a baby with her. Consequently, Dr. Hassan began to hate Wahid when he learned that he is the one who is responsible for his wife's apostasy. Dr. Hassan could not digest the incredible abominable information of the sister who got married and had sex with her own brother, and she had also got raped by her biological father. Such information increased his repulsion and hatred towards Christianity. He told his wife that if her Christian religion is true, then her God would not have allowed her to have sex with her own brother and father. He told her about a story of an innocent Muslim girl who was kidnapped from home when she was a baby by a bad woman. That girl, when she grew up, she became a prostitute. One day she met her brother, whom she had not seen since childhood. Her brother could not be able to do sex with her even though both wanted to have sex. The brother came many times to the house where his sister was working as a prostitute and made several attempts to have sex with his sister, but he could not. His penis remained cold, as if it wasn't part of his body. He was able to do sex with other prostitutes in that house except with his own sister. Finally, the brother investigated the matter and discovered that the girl is his own sister and that Allah did not allow him to have sex with her. He discovered his blood relationship with his sister through siblingship DNA tests. He also came to know that his sister was a victim, and he rescued her from that evil woman who kidnapped her when she was a baby girl and turned her into a prostitute. Dr. Hassan told his wife about another story of a Muslim man who married his own mother unknowingly, and similar miracle happened. Dr. Natasha refused to believe those stories and referred to some cases in the Bible where Abraham married his own half-sister and David's son, Absalom, who had sex with his sister, Tamar. Unfortunately, those biblical examples she referred to turned out to be strengthening her husband's argument rather than refuting it. The problem between Dr. Natasha and her husband reached its peak when she agreed to send the video of the stoning of his ex-wife to the Fox News channel in the States. In all their time together in the Middle East and after they came to Canada, Dr. Natasha did not inform Dr. Hassan that she had videotaped the cruel stoning of his late, unfaithful Muslim wife Siham. When he came to know about it, Dr. Hassan became extremely outraged. Consequently, he tried to stop his Christian wife from sending that video because his late ex-wife was his own cousin's sister, and exposing her to the public would be disgraceful and stigma to his family in Sudan. Dr. Natasha refused to accept that reason for hiding facts because she looked at the stoned Muslim wife as a victim, and she wants the whole world to see how cruel Islam is. Therefore, she believes the video would strengthen her case and prove to the public that her visit to the Middle East was meant to help Muslim women rather than expose them, as she had been falsely accused. When Dr. Hassan failed to convince his wife through appealing to the possibility of dishonoring his family in Sudan, he told her that the video would drag him in the case of his adulterous wife, and that would lead Sudanese in Toronto to hate and despise him as the Sudanese people in Riyadh did to him. Dr. Natasha told him that she would not reveal the identity of the husband of the stoned woman when she would appear in the Fox News. Then Dr. Hassan threatened that if Dr. Natasha would not give up her plan to send the video to the media, he would walk out of her life and leave her forever. Dr. Natasha refused to be intimidated by his threats and determined to go ahead with her plan of showing the video to the Fox News International channel. When Dr. Hassan failed to force his Christian wife to cancel her plan of publishing the video of his late Muslim wife, he decided to steal it from her and destroy it. On the same day, while his wife was sleeping, he woke up in the middle of the night and stole her laptop and went and threw it in Lake Ontario. He thought that by getting rid of her laptop, he had succeeded in destroying all the data that she had gathered from her visit to the Middle East along with the disgraceful video. Dr. Hassan repeatedly had been told by his Sudanese friends to stop his infidel wife from defaming Islam. They asked him to destroy those data she has in her laptop so that she would not be able to spread further lies about Muslim women. Dr. Hassan is treated by his Sudanese friends in Toronto as a Muslim like them. He never told any of his friends that he left Islam and became an apostate. Although his Muslim friends knew that he is not a very committed Muslim, still that does not bother them because most of them drink alcohol, do not pray, and fornicate with the so-called infidel prostitutes. Many of those Muslim young men love to go to the beach and swimming pools and look at the infidel girls in their sexy bikinis and lust after their semi-nude bodies. But none of those Muslim men will ever bring his so-called holy Muslim daughters, wives, or sisters to those so-called places of vices. Likewise, the same sons of Allah love to go to bars and nightclubs to see the infidel girls dancing half-naked with their unbelieving boyfriends. They want to keep their so-called holy daughters of Allah hidden in their houses and apartments, and they want to see the so-called daughters of Satan half-naked and lust after their sexy bodies. Sometimes, you can see the so-called holy daughters of Allah walking in their demeaning black burqas on beaches on Europe and look with disdain to the so-called infidel girls lying half-naked in their sexy bikinis. Their so-called holy men of Allah will be walking with them and looking lustfully to the so-called daughters of Satan lying semi-nude on the sandy beaches and having sunbath. For them, those infidel females are open fresh meat, and they believe they have the right to devour them. As a prominent Australian Muslim imam said in his Eid sermon, those white girls who walk on the streets without hijabs and abayas are like exposed meat, and the cats, which devour them, should not be blamed. He is blaming the victim who got raped and trying to find a justification for her rapist. In other words, This evil religious leader said the rapists should not be blamed, but the blame should fall on those victims who exposed their bodies and tempted them. What a wicked religious leader. He should be thrown behind bars for giving such evil advice to those Muslim sex perverts who see nothing in women except exposed bodies. Dr. Hassan did not inform his Sudanese male friends that he is an apostate or atheist. Even though they know he is not practicing any Islamic duties such as 5 daily prayers, still that is okay with them as long as he has not left Islam and converted to Christianity as his accursed apostate wife and her evil illegitimate brother, Priest Wahid did. Muslims considered the person an apostate and try to kill him or her only if he or she left Islam and embraced Christianity. They do not count an atheist Muslim as an apostate, and therefore they do neither hate him, boycott him, nor kill him. Luckily, Dr. Natasha had already suspected that Muslims might try to use her husband to destroy her collected data, and for that reason, she had transferred all her files to her computer at her office in the university. When she discovered that her laptop had disappeared, she understood that her husband had stolen it and hidden it somewhere. By doing that, he is thinking that he could stop her from sending the video of the stoning Muslim wife to the media. When she asked him about her laptop, he claimed that he did not know where it had gone. Dr. Natasha decided not to inform her husband that she had already transferred all her files to another computer. She pretended as if nothing had happened and just ignored the matter. However, the disappearance of her laptop alarmed her of the danger of staying with someone that she could not trust anymore. Although he claimed to have left Islam, still she found her husband behaving like any other dominating and mean Muslim husband. She is scared that his Islamic background and his zeal for his family's honor might lead him to harm her if she published the video while she is living with him under the same roof. Moreover, she is afraid that his Muslim friends might convince him to conspire with them against his Christian wife. Due to those strong reasons, Dr. Natasha finally decided to break up her relationship with her untrusted husband and leave her apartment and move to her brother's apartment. Without telling Dr. Hassan about her plan of leaving him, Dr. Natasha talked to her brother and his Ethiopian wife and disclosed to them her worries of living with someone full of resentment and animosity like her husband. Her brother Wahid and her friend Almaz Abraha welcomed her idea and came and took her to their apartment. When Dr. Natasha moved out of her apartment, her husband happened to be with his Sudanese friends. She wrote a long letter to him explaining why she decided to leave him and move out of their apartment because she does not trust him anymore. In her letter, she told him that she is not going to finance his study anymore or support him in any way. She explained to him that he could either apply for a student loan or do a part-time job. In the same letter, Dr. Natasha challenged her husband that whatever he did with her laptop was not going to stop her from sending the video of the cruel stoning of his ex-wife to the media. She also informed him that she had backed up all her files and no one could destroy those important data she painstakingly gathered about the abuse of women in Saudi Arabia and other Muslim countries, which she had visited with him. She mentioned that she put her life in an extremely high risk to collect those important data about the abuse and oppression of women in Muslim society. Dr. Hassan has become extremely outraged when he discovered that his plot of stopping his Christian wife from sending the shameful video to the Western media has flopped. But he understood he could do nothing now to alter her decision. Moreover, he became exceedingly mad when she told him she has left him for good and she is no longer going to finance his study and support him. He understood that her unexpected decisions have put him in a heap of problems.